Om Sri Sai Ram. Gauri Ganesha Vinayaka Gauri Ganesha Vinayaka Shuklambaradhara Nath Gajanana Shri Gananatha Gajanana Gajavadana Jaya Ganapati Vandana Mangala Murti Gajanana Shubhamangala Murti Gajanana Shubhamangala Murti Gajanana. Om Sri Sai Ram. Once an overseas devotee, this is around late 70s, very few overseas devotees would come and stay. Young boy, he asked Kasturiji. I was sitting in his room, Kasturiji's room. He came and they had some discussion and he asked this question. Sometimes I find Swami to be so human. His actions, his words, he will inquire, from where did you come? Did you have breakfast? What breakfast you had? He will ask students. He behaves perfect human. But again, sometimes when he calls us for interview and many times in darshan, he behaves as superhuman. Yet, sometimes I see him as supreme God. Is there any time or place or act fixed for him to act as human, as superhuman or as God? I have this doubt. This he asked Kasturiji. It was very interesting. Kasturiji said, this is very interesting question you are asking. I will have to ask Swami himself. I have no authority or qualifications to answer this. I learned my one lesson on that day, that these sages like Kasturiji or Kutumraoji, though they stayed with Swami in close proximity as an enlightened souls, they never claimed that they know everything about Swami and they can talk on behalf of Swami. No, they were too humble to say that, even think about that. For every small thing, they were not ordinary people. Even in worldly sense, they were highly qualified. And in spiritual sense, they were no less than Rishi Munis or sages. But they had that humility, the wisdom to know that they know nothing. For every small thing, they would depend only upon Swami's verdict. Whatever Swami says is final, unquestioningly. That fragrance, that aura, those vibrations of those days, of those devotees, of those officials, was on different level. Utter humility, an implicit faith in his wisdom. Apparently, it would seem that for these small things, why can't they apply their own mind? They can, they could, but they know. Not because they are afraid of Swami or fear of Swami. No, because they are enlightened souls. Their faith also is enlightened. Their love towards Swami is enlightened. They know that Swami knows. There are so many instances. They had their own experiences. And they were simple-hearted people. Very simple. Coming to the point. So after this gentleman left and Kasturiji told him, I'll ask Swami. I knew that when Kasturiji says ask Swami means he's definitely going to ask. He was man of his words. So I requested Kasturiji, whenever you get opportunity to ask, I knew that he cannot go and simply ask whatever he wants to ask. Swami has to give opportunity. Prompt him to ask. That is another qualification of a true devotee. They were not arrogant to just simply go and ask Swami anything and everything. Swami has to prompt, give indication. Because they know that Swami knows what we are going to ask. That much faith is required to become his instrument. You can't compare today's instruments with those divine instruments. They behaved and acted and thought and felt like Radha, like Meera, like Gopikas, like Arjuna, waiting for his command, like Hanuman, the best example. They would not act Krishna. Krishna may be charioteer, he may be sitting at the lower level, voluntarily. He decided to be charioteer, and charioteer has to sit at low level. The owner, the master, has to sit behind at the higher level. Krishna does not play boss, but the person who is playing boss should know that Krishna is the real boss. That is the game. That is the role play. If Arjuna starts behaving Krishna, acting Krishna, which he did once, and he put Abhimanyu in danger and ultimate death, he did not listen to Krishna because of his that ego that I have to chase somebody, something. No, that is a different story. Whenever we try to act God, all Harnakashpu, Ravana, all these Rakshasas, what we call them Rakshasas, because they acquired they were great tapasvis. They acquired their powers by doing great penance on Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, everyone. Ravana was one of the greatest devotee of Lord Shiva. They acquired all their powers by doing tapas, meditation, everything sadhana on their gods. So after acquiring the power and the boons from the gods, they started acting as God. It is like son getting the permission to come and sit in the office of the father, starts behaving like father to his father. Arrogance or ignorance or both. Generally both. We have to be humble enough to know that we know nothing. This is the mistake. Let me little bit diverse. My dear friend S. Gurmurti Garu, enlightened soul, pure, jewel. Very few like him in our country today. He made a mistake. He himself told me. When Swami told him that once you have told me the problem about the nation security, then you be rest assured that I will take care. You don't talk to anybody on this and don't do anything on it. But he, like many so-called protectors of our nation, saviors of this great country, he acted contrary to what Swami had commanded him. Not with wrong intentions. He thought that Swami has blessed and so now I have to do my job. And he thought he is capable of handling it. And he did it and he had it. He himself confessed. He was humble enough to say that. Many people do this mistake. Getting little power, little grace, little blessings from Bhagwan. And then acting as if they are the chosen ones and exclusively chosen ones. Childish. Coming to the point again. So I requested Kasturji, whenever you get an opportunity to ask Bhagwan, please, if possible, share with me. I used to visit his room very often. Those days was different ways. You can go to anybody's room and sit. There was no that official ego or anything of that sort. So after a few days, again I had an encounter with him and he told me, he actually had opportunity and he told Swami that this is the doubt in mind of that overseas devotee. And Swami's response was typical. After listening to this question, Swami laughed and laughed like a child because this God is not going to reveal his secrets. We do not know when he acts like human. We do not know when he acts like Superman. When we do not know when he acts like God. But he is God all the time, even while playing human. That is the USP of an avatar. He may play, like Swami says, a Supreme Court judge, the Chief Justice of Supreme Court, he may command highest respect in the country, but when he comes home, his grandson will tell him to become horse for him and he will ride on him. He will play horse for his grandson on the floor. He will be on his 2 hands and 2 legs. That is the affection, the love of God. He assumes different roles for our sake, out of love for us, because he loves us. But there is a catch in this. Father at home, when the child is small, when we were small, father would listen to even our irrational demands many a times. We'll ask for ice cream, though it is not very good time to have ice cream, but just out of affection, if it is not harmful, it is not we are not sick and all, he will go out of way to get the ice cream. He will go even walking to get the ice cream for us. Many irrational, untimely demands he will listen to. But once we grow up and we start attending his office, his business, then he is a different father. He has to be a different father. Then he will not allow us to do any mischief there or any irrational, illogical things in the office. You can't demand whatever you want from your father when you are attending in his office to learn from him. He is grooming you to occupy the position which he wants you to occupy. So he has to make you eligible for that. He has to see that you are qualified for that. So you have to become qualified means you have to undergo that training. Discipline. That time you can't afford to be childlike, immature. Same like the king, when the prince is found by the minister, he is identified and he comes home and he lives in the palace. He has come after maybe 20 years. So initially 6 months, all the queens, the king, everybody will shower unlimited affection upon him. Whatever he will demand, it will be provided. Whatever, because he has come after 20 years, he is our prince. He is our lost child. But after 6 months, the father would call him, the king would call him. Listen, son, you are the prince from the moment your mother conceived you in her womb. even before you were born actually. The moment you are conceived in the womb of the queen, you are the prince from that very moment. You have spent your 20 years in different environment, not of your fault, but as decided by destiny. Now having come back to your palace and accepted your princehood, and again 6 months I gave you enough. You had all the indulgences, everything whatever you wanted, and still I can continue to allow you to indulge into all those things. For me it is not an issue, but now you have to take a call. If you want to remain like this, eating, drinking, enjoying, so be it. But then be sure I will not hand over to you the responsibility of the kingdom in any manner. You can enjoy as my son, as the prince. I have no issues on that. But as a king, as my dharma, I will not hand over the responsibilities of the kingdom to you in any manner unless you prove your mentor, your qualifications, prove your mettle on that. And for that you have to undergo this disciplines. You have to make your body strong, your mind strong. You have to rise above your personal desires, your low level indulgences of your senseless mind and mindless senses. And you have to be disciplined. You have to be very hard and harsh upon yourself. You have to invite people to hit you to make you strong. You have to learn horse riding, sword, everything, whatever is required of taking care of your position and authority as anyone in this kingdom, any position, you have to qualify that position. And I will test you, not only me, even my ministers will test you. Your guru will test you. Then we will decide what responsibility to hand over to you. This is common sense. But we want to behave childish, immature, impulsive all our lives. We overestimate our possessions, desires, acquisitions, and we want to do all the indulgences. Many people fear to go to any god or guru or any serious spiritual learning because they think they have to become Buddha, they have to become Mira, they have to renounce all their comforts and that comfort zone which they have created around themselves. They have to let go that. They are afraid of that. They are afraid of passing through the fire of 3 zeros to say. Of course, everybody can't. Swami told even Dr. Bhagwat and my friend Dr. from Greece, Dr. George, great oncologist. You can't take it, he said. But at least, if not 3 zeros, at least 1 zero. If not for 10 years, at least for 6 months, at least for some time, till it depends how much you can bear, how much you can take it. That will decide your position and your authority. Your birth does not decide your position or authority in his scheme of things. In worldly sense, that is different game. But in his scheme of things, how much you can take it, how much you can bear it. Bear all and say nothing. That patience, that saburi, that shraddha, that enlightened faith is required. You have to develop it. And he is giving you, offering us, just for asking. He says, I am ready to give, but are you ready to take? Not yet, not yet, not yet. That is why I often say, wait, wait. wait. Many times we have heard Swami telling, wait, wait, wait. 3 times always. He is yes, 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 3 times. Because he says, I am S, S, S. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. He is truth, goodness, and beauty. He wants us to become his co-sharers, his partners, his performers. He wants each one of us. He is giving us equal opportunity. We all are essentially and equally divine. But the role play has to be different and unique for each one of us. Everybody cannot play the hero, as everybody cannot play the villain. The script is his, the dialogue is his, the entry, the exit, the co-stars, the camera, the costume, everything he decides. And when he decides, he provides. When he decides that the hero has to land on helicopter, it is his decision, so he will provide the helicopter. We don't have to beg for it. We get what is destined. Destined means whatever the role demands, the situation demands in his drama, in his play, he will provide without asking, without begging. And when he directs, he protects. I told him 2-3 conditions when he asked me to bring about governance of God in this country. First I protested, and when he convinced me and even commanded me, when he has decided he will not listen to anything. He said, I don't like to be suggested. I used to do that, suggest to him options and argue with him. The day he told me shut up, then shut up. I said, Swami, first of all, we need so many resources nowadays because this little common sense I had for the country, and when I decide, I provide. I will give you infinite resources. You don't have to ask because this was my condition. Swami, you have not taught us or trained us to ask. Lovers are givers, not takers. I am your lover. So he blessed me on that. Second, Swami, this again, being in theatre line and all, I knew all the Maharashtra chief ministers, home ministers, S.B. Chavan, Y.B. Chavan visited our house. So I knew this is a big game of the mafia, by the mafia, for the mafia. We had, as theatre owners, at least we knew what the game is. Once S.V. Bhave, the DIG about whom I spoke, he came to attend my marriage. He was sitting in our house. He told me, Harish, no street gunda, rowdy can do any mischief on big scale without support from the police. And no police can allow to create any big riot or anything without direct or indirect involvement and support from a political boss. These are his words. Now I know it firsthand. So I told Swami, we are not again trained, and it's a spiritual. Governance of God means, and he said, God means not Rama, Krishna, Allah, Jesus. God is truth, goodness, beauty. You have to bring truth, goodness and beauty in the governance of this country. I'm not asking you to do any politics out of it. Today it is all politics without governance. You have to do governance without politics. Today's politics. And when I direct, I will protect. Don't worry. This is how divinity works. But we don't have to act Krishna that Swami has blessed me, so I am his instrument. So let me start behaving as God. Buddhi ledu. It is his game. He alone knows. He alone can. Because he alone is. We have to be just ready, awake and alert to listen, understand his command and perform and forget about it. That is why he told me, in this avatar I can get the things done only through donkeys. Because donkeys do not have any personal agenda. The moment you have any personal agenda, he'll switch off. Simple as that. The same God who can switch on can switch off as well. You have to be hollow and straight like a flute for Krishna to pick you up and play his music. Music is his. Flute has nothing to do with that. But many a times we behave like that lizard on the roof. That lizard said, if I move, the roof will fall. We think that if we are not there, this nation will go to dogs. Buddhi ledu. Swami told one of the most respected leaders of this country in present times, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the safety and security of this country is secured in hands of Sai. I am Bharat Bhagya Vidhata. He alone is. He can get the things done in any of his donkey instruments. Who can stop him? Who can question him? Who can advise him? Who can suggest him? And who can ignore him or underestimate him? Ravana did it and he had it. This God has come to teach us precisely this, how to play our role. We have been given the role of humans. Whatever else we may or may not claim to be, who can deny that we all are humans? So first, a human without human qualities is unacceptable. That is why we have to think with that human dignity. Feel with that human compassion. Act as human righteousness. We can't do anything that we want to do and the way we want to do. It is his game. Rose may be the best of flowers, but God has not created all the flowers as rose. Peacock may be the most beautiful birds, but God has not created only peacock as his beautiful birds. Humans may be the highest creation of God, but can you imagine the entire creation having only humans and no other animals? No plants, no trees, only humans, because humans are the highest and the best. Is it logical? Is it has some reasoning, some common sense? Our face, we say face value. Does God create only face? We have many organs which we cannot look at. We have to cover them. But without those organs, can we do anything? Every creation in this God's creation, it has its own purpose, God's purpose. We have no business, no authority, no qualifications, no eligibility to undermine or undervalue or ignore or even hate or hurt or humiliate His creation. How dare we? Swami told once, if you cannot love a person, you cannot respect a person, just shut up, keep mum. Suppose it is not in your capacity to love some particular person or group or community or any nation or anybody on that matter. Shut up, keep mum. It is my creation, my game. He told S.B. Chavan in Whitefield, mistake is in your drishti, not in my srishti. Publicly, Swami declared. Who can find fault in his creation? What authority, what eligibility we have? Everybody wants to go for Dharma Yuddha. Everybody wants to become Bhishma Pitama, Duryodhana, Arjuna. And they want to act Krishna. They want to decide everything. Everyone. He alone can decide because he alone knows. L. Drucker has mentioned in book which was, he referred to one situation from Satyam Sundaram. I don't remember the exact page or volume of that. That during 1962 China war, Swami's birthday was approaching and the war was going on. It was at its peak. So some devotee asked Swami, how can we celebrate birthday? Don't worry, before my birthday, they will have to go back. Nothing will happen to our country. And he has mentioned, L. Drucker has mentioned, referring to Satyam Shivam Sundaram, that during birthday week, suddenly the Chinese started pulling back, and some commander in China reportedly told that some unseen power pulled us back. Never underestimate this God. When he says, I am Bharata Bhagya Vedata and the safety and security of this country in my hands, that should be enough for us to rest at peace. He knows his game. He is the master.